Ladies.
Good morning. So my name is Gun Denhart, and I'm the founder of Hanna Andersson, at the time a children's catalog, but today in retail as well.
My name is Lili Yeo. I'm founder and CEO currently of goumikids, baby accessories and moving and gravitating towards apparel. So, I have to say, guys, it's a big, big honor for me just even to be here when the invite came from Mitch. That like, you're gonna share the stage with Gun, and like, big hero of mine, you know, to be in this space, like to be, you know, Hanna Andersson, Goumi. Okay, so big, big honor to be here, and so thank you for the time that we got to do this together. But one of the things that for us, you know, as founders, certainly in the space that we both co-inhabit, which is the kids space, origin stories are a big part of kind of the lore. And when you talk about consumer products, origin stories are a big part of the lore. Even more important in kids space. When people want to buy your product, when they experience your brand, they want to know where it's from, where it started, and what was the impetus for it. So for Gun, I mean, my big question was like, what got you on this journey of Hanna Andersson and to create a line and a company that's kind of bucking the trend of, you know, making fast fashion and you know, replaceable goods?
Well, we certainly didn't start with that in mind. We wanted to have food on the table. So my husband worked at Madison Avenue in New York and was really tired of that. And I worked as an area financial manager on the East Coast. And we knew we wanted to start a business. So we explored a lot of different things. And I come from Sweden, so I wanted to have something that had a connection with Sweden. So we researched things like selling Swedish water, which was later done, selling Swedish prefabricated houses, that was also done later.
So ahead of your time.
Well, both of those would have needed a lot of investment capital, yeah. So then in 1980, we had a son, Christian, and with him, our business idea, because I dressed him in clothes that friends sent from Sweden, and I was literally stopped in the street, people saying, "Where did you get those clothes?" So we thought we were onto something, yeah. And that's how it all started.
So interesting, so interesting. I think I hear that so many in our industry, that origin story of, well, something happened when I had a baby, and I couldn't find this thing, therefore that must be my calling to bring this product to market. It usually happens at 2 a.m., right? Right? Because you're nursing for the 16th time. So for us, that was the same story in many ways, just slightly sideways. I think that I would actually, the original inception of the idea, not when to start the company, I'll credit it back actually to the time here at Ziba, because this is my old stomping grounds. And when I was on maternity leave here, I was really trying to focus on my baby. But my friend visited me at home and trying to help me out to be a new mom. And she saw these baby mittens on my kid's hands, and she's like, "How's that working out for you?" And I said, "Oh my God, it was so awful. The thing doesn't work, and yet the baby's scratches me, scratches herself." And she's like, "Well, I actually have an idea for that, but I don't know how to take it to market." And I said, "Well, you do know that's what I do for a living, right?" And it just kind of started from there. And I hear that over and over in our industry, that inspiration of there was a need that was very real to us to bring it to market.
So getting from a need to actually doing it, how did you jump into that?
Big chasm. So, you know, you have to go through your due diligence. There's that inspiration, that spark of, okay, all right, here's a need. How does this play in an ecosystem? Can we inhabit a niche that's big enough to warrant the effort and time? And then what's all that has to take to bring it to market? So the usual things that you have to do, but for us, it really started with, I think what's unique about the baby industry and kids industry is that because the people in it largely are parents, users, and we tend to be the target market, at least in the beginning. And so we would poll ourselves, we'd poll our friends, and we spent a lot of time getting to know that consumer. We made hundreds of prototypes, and just send them out with moms, go live with this thing, and tell us good and bad, we want to hear it all, ad nauseum, and we would go and hang out at their houses and see not only how they use the product, but what their life was like, so that we can extrapolate all that into the overall experience when we finally rolled out the product.
Well, you had an advantage because you you were in the industry, sort of.
SIBA trained. How about that?
Really great SIBA training. I was trained as an accountant, so.
Okay, your books are really good.
Books, it was really essential actually to have that skill.
I bet. I'm envious.
Yeah. So, but getting from the idea to actually doing it. So, one year, 1983, when we were on vacation in Sweden, I tried to find all the manufacturers making high-quality children's clothing.
Yeah.
And there were not too many, very hard to get hold of in those days. You had to go to the library to get the phone books.
Wow.
This is Stone Age.
Okay.
And we were lucky, we found one just very close to where I grew up. So half an hour, that was totally fortunate. So we went over on August 8, 1983, and selected a box full of samples, took those with us, went back to Connecticut, and just like you, passed them out to friends and people we met on the beach, and say, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And we got really positive response. And from there, so we were 8th of August, we quit our jobs, we sold our house, we moved out to Oregon, and we were here in November. Actually, in the meantime, we produced a catalog for 16 pages. So we were pretty busy in those days.
Yes. But that initial vet, that initial market test where you took it to your target market to get a feel for the demand, that was critical, right? In order for you to make the next leap of faith.
Yeah, we couldn't just be the only one who
Really
thought
did
that
it.
this was good.
Yeah, same for us.
Yeah.
We had criticism later on. People were like, you're making a baby mitten in the beginning. Why spend so much detail? And in the beginning, it took us like a year. And granted, we were still moms of newborns at the time too. But we spent a year doing all that, not just vetting to consumers, which is a really critical piece for us. We also looked at their whole journey and realized, look, it's a baby mitten. I couldn't invest in trying to get it online. The same cost to advertise as an $800 stroller to sell my $12 baby mitten. So it made more sense to get it to where the consumers were at, and then they remember, oh yeah, by the way, I need a baby. So thinking about those details helped move us into stripping out risks to converse with retailers. What packaging do you guys need? What kind of messaging? Is this the right price point? And all the other details. I would say without that early vetting, we wouldn't have succeeded as well as we have.
Okay, really interesting, because we skipped that already.
Both can work.
Yeah. It can be true and not true at the same time.
Yeah.
So we just produced the catalog and put in what we liked in the catalog and what little feedback we've gotten, and then sent out 75,000 catalogs. And then that was our market research, if you want.
75,000, that's a lot of catalogs.
I know. They were all, so we shot everything in Sweden, we produced everything in Sweden, we printed it in Sweden, and then we waited 2 months for it to be shipped here.
Okay. DHL couriers, those catalogs are heavy, it's a pricey exercise. So yeah, it's an interesting thing where, and in your case, it was a catalog business. You weren't necessarily trying to get in retail stores for your product. They were buying directly from you, yes?
Oh, absolutely. So we sent out the catalog, and we actually had some leftover catalogs at the end that we didn't find any place to send them to. We put, and then we had to produce a second catalog. But we put little ads in magazines like Parent Magazine.
Yeah.
The first ad read, "Why are Swedish babies so happy?" 2,500 responses from that.
Wow, that's all you needed to ask. Clearly there were unhappy babies in America. That's what we need we need Swedish clothes to make us happy. So, but it's really interesting how really important that first hook is to be able to get them to even listen, and humor. One of the things that we realized...
That wasn't humor.
But perhaps to an American. No, I'm joking. So, but it's one of those things we realize in our journey in messaging. Maybe it's tired parents. We're sleep deprived, right, in the beginning, it's like Groundhog Day. You're seeing your baby, you're dressing them, you're feeding, you over and over, and you're still in your pajamas. And so some injection of just a poignant question or a little humorous video now in our day, how much attention that can grab really quickly by, just one soundbite like that.
Well, I said I was an accountant, but my husband was a marketer.
There you go.
So he made television commercials.
Yeah.
And never made a catalog, not very much print ads either. But he really created a catalog with a soul. And then he pushed me out there. Actually, maybe you want to know why we called it Hanna Andersson and not Gun's catalog.
No. Yeah, why? Where did Hanna, the name, come from?
So, well, we decided not to name it after me.
Okay.
Didn't make any
After
sense.
much debate and wine.
So we named it after my grandmother.
Okay.
So Hanna Andersson, which we thought that sounded Swedish, which it is, but also easy to pronounce. And then my husband kind of pushed me out there to be Hanna. So every catalog had a little blurb about me and, a little letter signed by me.
So you were the poster kid. You were the vision of the brand.
I wasn't
the
the
face
kid.
of the brand.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely.
Well, and with that, you were talking about soul in your catalog. One of the things that I really respect very highly about Hanna, you guys were pioneers in also embedding this culture and train, policies that you put in place right at the design of your company around subsidized childcare, family friendly. Those things were not commonplace in our industry, let alone in Portland. Why was it so important to design that as part of the genesis of what Hanna was going to be? With this company?
Interesting. I didn't even know what a policy was,
Okay.
We just, we were in our late 30s when we started. So we'd worked in various businesses before, and we really know what we didn't like. So we wanted to create the catalog, create a company where we wanted to work.
Yeah.
And for my part, I had never worked in an American company, so I didn't know many of the things that you all take for granted today. And it was just shocking to me that parents got, 5 weeks of unpaid vacation or whatever it was at the time. And I remember thinking we had a young woman who had 2 kids. She was divorced, and we paid her, $5.50 an hour. And I thought, this doesn't work. How can she be at work and
Living wage.
Not worry about her kids?
Yeah.
So, and I had been in that situation myself, going to work and knowing, not quite sure that was the right babysitter or whatever. So pretty early on, we said, instead of raising everybody's wages, let's pay for half of people's childcare cost. And this was at the end of, it was, and I had no idea how unusual it was, actually. So that then created a culture where we had flexible time. Before I didn't even know how to say that was flexible time, but I said, if you need to leave to go to a child's appointment or whatever, go.
Yeah, very unheard of. Same thing. It's funny that you use that phrase. We wanted to create a company that we wanted to work for. Same thing for us. We've been very fortunate, both my co-founder and I, to have had experience with a lot of the greatest companies here in Portland. But it's one of those things where something happened to us when we became moms. The definition of stewardship shifted for us. You spend so much effort caring for this baby, and your fragile baby, and somehow we feel much more akin to, fellow moms, fellow babies, that we were somehow part of a tribe, and what we were doing with these babies and what we were buying for them had an impact to the planet that they're going to inherit. So it was important for us. Well, we need to fix the problem. These are baby essentials in our experience, but they don't exist, and we're from Portland, so that means that's our cue to make it. And three, we need to make a company that we feel proud of, that not just makes great product, but actually does good. And so for us, we baked into our ethos this 10% of our proceeds go back. It's just part of our way of breathing as a company. So we're philanthropy and a baby good maker. But in addition, that whole flex idea is so critical for a mom. You don't know what happens. You know, something happens in your momhood that your schedule is not your own, and that baby or that child's going to need things. And so to have that flexibility is absolutely currency. And we were shocked at how many parents there were in Portland, Beaverton metro area that absolutely crave for that kind of benefit at work. 9 to 3 schedules is what we have, our mom schedules. You know, we get to work when after we drop off the kids, and then 3 o'clock, it's time to go pick them up from school, right? So
it's fantastic.
And that's how it needed to be.
Yeah. What is the hardest thing that you're dealing with today?
The ever-evolving terrain of the consumer, marketplace. We talked about this earlier, that perhaps different from when Hanna Andersson kind of came into its growth. Where goumikids finds itself now is when we designed the company and got to know our consumer, it was us. So that was 6 years ago. By the way, those moms are now having, third graders, right? And now the new moms that I have to talk to, they're Gen Y and now Gen Z, because the Zs are coming on, or even earlier into parenthood. I've got to get to know them all over again, and the way they shop, and that the way they prefer to discover product is so different, so vastly different. Our retailing strategy, or distribution strategy rather, in the beginning was, let's be where they're at, because they like to shop and they like to be in store. And so we needed to be where they're going to make that impulse buy and add our products on. Not so anymore. They absolutely love the oh yeah, I'm browsing this because my cute friend is shopping and I'm going to buy that. Or I'm shopping at Anthropology for my own stuff, and oh God, yeah, I forgot to buy a baby gift, I'm going to buy it here. So it's no longer that they're shopping at the Babies R Us's of the world and buy. So constantly staying on the pulse and being very flexible to be able to quickly change and adapt would be a key challenge. And I would say, if I can answer a second question, because we entrepreneurs don't follow rules very well, is navigating and filtering the noise. There's so much noise in our space with the advent of social media bombarding in our private spaces, in our quiet spaces. It's all over. It's on, on your watch. And as a leader of your organization, it's so easy to get swayed by the left or right, depending how the wind blows. And how to filter that noise to make truly right decisions for navigating the company is an ongoing big challenge. How about for you and the evolution of Hanna?
I don't know. As you were talking, I was thinking of, it was easy and focused in a way because we were just a catalog company. And I'm a numbers person, and it was easy to analyze and say, that one sold so and so much. And instead of retail, which is much more, it's a whole different ballgame. So, and that also led to that it was easier for us to go online when that time came.
Exactly.
So we were one of the early adopters of that, of getting online. But your question was more on, what was the hardest thing? Ooh, such a long time ago. We sold the company in 2001. So I have had a different life since then, and but I do remember some hard times.
How long? So how long did you have Hanna? How long before
since
the sale?
83 to 2001.
18 years-ish? Or?
Whatever that is.
Not enough caffeine. So, so it was a long time, and getting to the place for many of us entrepreneurs, right? We think about what is the end goal, and often we have to think about that at the outset, or we're asked a lot what it is at the outset. Did you know when you began that, I'm going to grow Hanna so to get it to be sold someday?
Definitely not. I didn't even know that was, in the cards. We started because we wanted to start a business. My father was an entrepreneur, my brother is an entrepreneur, so I come from that kind of background.
In the DNA.
And in the Swedish DNA, you don't sell. We have a lot of big companies that are still family owned over there. So I didn't really have sale of the company as an option. But my husband got sick. In 1995, he got sick and he got cancer. So, and the day he was diagnosed, he says, "I'm out of here." So there I stood with a husband who had cancer and a business to run. And that was a year from hell. And I don't know how many of you can relate to this. That was a year from hell for us because my father got really sick that year too. And we lost money for the first time ever. And we lost it with a bang. We lost $4 million.
In 1 year.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
When it rains, it really
So to crawl up from that was not easy. And of course, it's not the time to sell a company when you lost $4 million.
No.
You're not going to get anything for it.
So like, wait, but let's look last year's revenue number.
Yeah. So those 6 years after that were hard, but we timed it right because we sold before 9/11.
Thank God.
I didn't think about that until someone pointed that
Nobody
out the other day.
Those macro trends either.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those. I think you said something really interesting. Around in our entrepreneurship journey, we think we're going to start this trajectory this way, and the reality is all over the place, and it varies, and how or where we'll end up is still to be decided, and how to navigate that ambiguity is absolutely part of the journey.
I remember this. I had a really good accountant, and one day he asked me, "What is your exit strategy?"
And I always ask.
I had to ask him, "What is exit strategy?"
Define exit.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No, I think in and maybe I try not to speak to all Americans, but certainly in my American experience, that was asked more often than not. What is the exit strategy at the beginning? Mm-hmm. And maybe it's the American psyche that we have short attention spans, getting shorter by the day, and it's like, well, we're going to start and then we move on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and it's like, well, I don't know how to answer that question. Ask me tomorrow, or it varies every hour, depending on how things go. But the reality is, for every glorious day you have in a startup, there's usually about 100 inglorious days. And so, do you have the stomach for that, to ride the journey, and the grit to work through the challenges that will always come? And the patience is always not enough, but needed in the experience. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, of course I had hard things before, and I remember someone telling me that the difference between the one who's successful and the one who's not is the one who is successful. Whenever you have a hard thing happen, you get up again and say, next. And there's a hard thing happening, you get up again and say, next. That is so true. That is so, and I wish that I had heard that earlier on. I think the other thing that, when people ask, what would you say to other entrepreneurs now, having gone 7 years into this, and I say, know your scorecard. If you may not know your exit strategy, but know your scorecard coming in. What is it that you're in this for, right? I think our friend, Mr. Weinman earlier, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, the dude from Brooklyn, the bro from Brooklyn, where you said, we all have different reasons for coming into this thing. Mm-hmm. And it's really tempting, I think, for entrepreneurs, certainly in the States, certainly in social media, where it's like, well, you have to make your millions or you're not very successful. And it's like, wait, but that might be not maybe my scorecard. That might be yours. And that's good for you. But if that's not mine, I'm not going to feel bad about myself, because I think it's too easy to do that. And we all know the race is long and the race is arduous, right? And really, as Baz Luhrmann says, the race is against yourself. So for me, knowing that now, get your scorecard clear. What is it that you're in? For me, one of my scorecard things was, I want to inspire my girls. I want to inspire them that they can do anything. And to me, it was the scorecard was checked just about a month ago, and my little one is like, I guess it was career day in school, and they're like, yeah, I think I'm debating whether or not to start 3 companies, or just be a big boss, because mommy's done both. And I'm like, the revenue number all of a sudden in that moment didn't really matter. Mm-hmm. When I've been able to inspire my girls in that way. Sure, yes, we're distributed in 46 countries, but that could change tomorrow depending on policies that change, right? Or foreign exchange that changes now our price point to make it unattainable. So when I got that scorecard clear, I think it was much easier to manage my energies in the right direction for the company.
That's really interesting. So as I said, we started it to get food on the table. We needed to support ourselves. And then we did some of these unusual programs, like, after people had bought our products, we had something called Hanna Downs, and they could send it back to us,
right.
and we gave a 20% credit towards the new purchase. That was unheard of too. No one did that. And but through that, I came in contact with other businesses who were in those days called social responsible. Today it's called impact. And that opened up a whole new world for me that I did not know existed. So it was fantastic to meet other companies who had the similar vision. So after that we said, we want to have a company that is a vehicle for social change. And so that we just went at it at a more deliberate way.
No, I think one of the best side products or side benefits of entrepreneurship is that you meet fellow like-minded, courageous, sometimes foolish folks. We're either like lunatics or we're like just straight up brave, but or both, and somehow, when you meet them, all these new possibilities open up. That's one of probably the best things that I've come across in this entrepreneurship journey, for sure. So
I think it's totally amazing that you have this conference here today.
Yeah, I know. I mean, talk about the legacy of Portland or of Oregon with consumer products. We are inherently makers, more so than even other places. And I don't think it really gelled on me, despite being a part of many companies in my past here in Oregon that makes product, how deeply embedded to the DNA that is. And to recognize that we can work together is truly, innovative in and of its own right. I think being a woman, maybe, being a mother, I tended to sort of hunker down, and I'm going to do this myself, and power through, including funding our own growth this whole time, almost. And I realized, wait, okay, that was really exhausting, but I didn't have to do that. I could have actually linked arms, and I could have done more to recognize and tap into the collaborativeness of Oregon and the founders and the makers here. It's actually pretty special. So hopefully this event, among other things, will catapult us into new arenas, into that collaboration as a whole.